There's a word that I want to share with you real briefly, if I can, found in the Old Testament this morning in the book of Psalms. And if you are a longtime churchgoer or you're an avid Bible reader, Psalms 27 should not be a stranger to you. I just want to share with you words that were penned by David years ago that still ring true, still hold so much value to the believer today. Now I want to just read the first 7 verses, and there are only 12 verses in Psalms 27, but I want to just read for your hearing verses 1 through 7. Are you ready? It says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and my foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle, he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. And now my head shall be lifted above my enemies all around me. Therefore, I will offer sacrifices of joy in his tabernacle. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. I want to talk very briefly from this thought. How to maintain your composure. How to maintain your composure. Now, we live in a world and we live in a society that seems to be on edge about everything. People just don't seem to have patience, and they don't seem to have the temperament to just deal with one another. And not only that, people are having trouble. They're struggling just to survive and deal with life. Some people are not even happy when they look in the mirror. They are frustrated at what they see in their own image and in their own reflection. You'd be surprised at how many people struggle with self-assurance and self-confidence and finding the motivation to just get out of bed and do the simple things in life. We live in a society that is so on edge that road rage, people will kill you just for honking your horn. You never know who is about to snap. And so we spend our lives tiptoeing and walking on eggshells in dealing with people. And it seems like every time I turn on my television, there's something, some type of strife, some type of conflict that we have to deal with. Prejudice and discrimination. And one week we boycotting Target. Next week we boycotting the Asians. And the next thing you know, we're upset because one of our fellow brethren went out on a boat and he didn't come back. And so now we have this separation between black and white. It is always something going on. But I want to tell you this. Boycotting and petitions are not going to solve our issues. The only petition that really matters and the one that we really need to focus on is our petition to the Lord. Because only God can fix what really is going on with society. And whether you know it or not, the power lies in the church and not in the White House. For if my people who are called by my name, if we would just humble ourselves and turn from our evil and wicked ways, God will hear from heaven and then he will heal the land. And it seems like the one place, the one strength, the one assurance thing that we can rely on is the one thing that people seem to shy away from. We put church on the back burner, but that is really what is going to get us through. That is really what is going to bring us over. When we get back to seeking God's face, that is the only way we can maintain our composure. David here offers us some real simple advice, and he gives us a 3-step blueprint to life of how to maintain your composure, how not to lose it, how not to come apart, how not to lose a grip on life when trouble, when life, when problems seem to be in your face. Now, I've said this before, and if those of you who have been under my ministry, you've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again, that trouble normally comes in 2 stages. Sometimes trouble comes and knocks on your front door, comes in your house, and runs out the back door. The second time trouble comes and knocks on your door, it comes with luggage. Meaning when it comes, it's coming to stay a while. And you want it to leave. You're getting tired of it hanging around, but it just doesn't want to leave you. It gets up in the morning with you and watches you get ready for work. It gets in the car with you and follows you to your office and sits in your cubicle with you all day long. And it seems like every time you turn around, trouble is right there. And it makes it hard, even for the strongest of saints, to maintain your composure. Because if the truth be told, we're not that far delivered from our old self. We're still walking around as this old wretched man. We're delivered, but we're not done. We are still a work in progress. And so I can bless you on Tuesday and I can cuss you out on Wednesday. I got that capability. I'm saved, I'm sanctified, I'm sealed, but I still am a sinner. And if you catch me on the right day and push the wrong button, I can be bilingual and speaking my old native tongue. Ask me how I know. But look at what he says. First of all, he says, if you're going to maintain your composure, the first thing you must have to be successful is you must be confident. He says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Now, the first thing he wants us to know, he says, he uses the word my. He said, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Your relationship with God is not based upon the church you go to. It's not based upon your Facebook friends. It's based upon your personal relationship that exists between you and God. You ought to know when you got saved. You ought to know where you are in Christ. Now, I mentioned today we're celebrating birthdays of a lot of wonderful people, great people in my life. And when we have birthdays, all of us, we tend to mark that on our calendars and we celebrate the day in which we were born. But how many people celebrate the day when you got born again? How many of us promote that and let people know, yeah, I was born, but I was also born again? How many people throw a party and say, come celebrate my salvation? Let me tell you about how good God has been to me, and that he is no respecter of person. If he has done it for me, he can also do it for you. That we all have a big birthday bash, and all of us celebrate being born again. Now, he uses the word light and salvation because light is a precursor to salvation. In other words, he's saying, I'm able to walk in the light because I have salvation. Did y'all get that? Which means God found me in the dark. So then the fact that God found me at my worst and still loved me despite of, that's reason enough for me to be confident that if God can find me in the muck and the mire and still bring me out of darkness and put me in light, if he can do that, I'm confident that whatever comes what may, God still got me. So he says, because of that, the next verse he says, whom shall I fear? Now, two of my grandchildren spent the night with us last night, and they asked us, could they go downstairs and get a snack? And I said, actually, G-Mama, because that's really who the boss around the house. She's in charge of snacks. Because if I say yes, and then they ain't supposed to have it, then I have to hear a whole lot of rigmarole. So I said, actually, G-Mama. She said, yes, go downstairs and get one snack. Don't run down them steps and come right back up. But they got to the top of the steps and they looked down and they realized all the lights were out downstairs. And they're standing there arm in arm, and each one said, you go, no, you go, you go. And they finally said, G-Mama, can you please turn the light on? She said, no, I'm not turning no light on. If I got to go downstairs and turn the light on, I might as well bring y'all the snacks. But sometimes when you're in the dark, fear comes because you really can't see what's waiting on you. But if you have been brought out of darkness into the light, and now God has given you a new focus, and you can now see where you are as opposed to where you come from, he now asks the question, whom shall I fear? If the powers of darkness no longer prevail in my life, if I don't have to fear death and hell, then why should somebody lying on me upset my whole world? Why should I lose sleep because you stopped speaking to me? Don't you know I've been delivered from hell, fire, and brimstone? You giving me the cold shoulder? Don't rattle me. Not when I got salvation. I can make it to heaven without being your friend, but I can't make it to heaven without being saved. And I got news for you. If you don't want to fellowship with me down here, don't think we going to the same place. So he says, whom shall I fear? He said, the Lord is the strength of my life, which means even though I'm delivered and I might have a tendency to want to slip back, if I'm in God's hands, nothing can pluck me out of it, because who could be stronger than God? Father, all that you've given me, I have not lost a one. Neither is any man able to pluck them out of my hands. If God is holding you and you are resting in the strength of the Lord, what better place could you be in? I don't have no business losing my composure. And since the Lord is the strength of my life, look what he says next. Of whom shall I be afraid? Which means I'm not afraid of nothing that I'm going through right now, and I'm not afraid of what I might have to go through. Because if God brought me from there to hear. I am confident he can take me through whatever is up there. Come what may, I still have the light and the salvation of the Lord. So you must be confident. Look what he says, why you must be confident. Verse 2, he says, when the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, mine enemies and foes. Now look, he gives 3 distinct classes of trouble. Wicked, enemies, and foes. Now, wickedness or wicked people are destructive. There are some things that are going to come in your life that are destructive. And what I mean by that, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. There are some things that you're going to go through in life that are just going to tear you apart. Have you ever been in a situation where it just seemed like the bottom just fell out of the situation? That it just left you confused and confounded and discombobulated. That's wickedness. That you can just know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this does not belong in my life. He says, not only that, you have enemies. They're not destructive, but they are descriptive. Meaning you can recognize that this has affected you some type of way. And these are kind of things that get us because whether you know it or not, Satan studies you. And he knows what gets your goat. He knows what your weaknesses are. And he knows if I send this descriptive enemy your way, I have a greater chance of tripping you up because this thing is your proclivity. Oh, I wish I had a praying church. And so that's why sometimes when you've been delivered and you've gotten away from some people, they show up again years later. When you least expect it, you just pumping gas trying to get home. And you look on the other side of the pump and there he is, or there she is. And they just take you back from where you've been delivered from. And they them same old words, hey, how you doing? I tried to call you, but you had to change your number. Did you block me? And here you are. And sometimes when your enemies trip you up, you really, really feel bad because when you get home and when you get to thinking about it, you say to yourself, now I know I shouldn't have failed that test. I saw it coming. I felt it. Something told me. People say that all the time. Something told me not to do this. That was the descriptive part that came along with your enemies. Now, he also mentioned foes. Now, the thing about foes are they come in disguise as friends. So they're not just destructive or descriptive. Your foes are deceitful because they come wrapped in pretty packages. And sometimes it causes you to have what Proverbs says, develop ways that seem right unto man, but the end thereof is destruction. And these are the ones that get us because we unite ourselves and we connect with things and we gravitate to things that have the appearance of being good and positive and productive. And when we get in it and we find out we're too deep, and it cuts real deep because we let our guard down. Because they didn't come in the form of a foe. They came in the form of a friend. You find out on the back end that they were wolves dressed as sheep. And so he says, even though I have to deal with wickedness and enemies and foes, I am still confident that God will keep me. He says, when they all rise up to eat me or to eat my flesh, meaning that their whole objective is to take me down. He says, the good news is when my enemies rise, they stumble and they fail. That God allowed them to plan, to attack, but not to succeed. All right? You're going to go through some stuff in order to come to some stuff. Nothing can stop you. All things are possible. You are more than a conqueror. You are the head. You are not the tail. You are the victor and not the victim. All right? Verse 3. Though an army may encamp against me. All right? Imagine you're in the middle and the army of wicked enemies, foes are encamped against you. What would a normal person feel? Anxiety or fear. But we've already said in verse 1 and 2, of whom shall I fear, or whom shall I be afraid? He says, even though I'm encamped, my heart shall not fear. My heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, do's and dudettes, it is impossible for you to have confidence and lack courage. With confidence brings courage. And so when you hear me say stuff like, I ain't scared of nobody, that doesn't come from a place of cockiness. That comes from a place of confidence. I don't know what I'm going to go through tomorrow, but I ain't scared. Because I know whatever it is I got to face is all part of God's plan, is all God's purpose, and that I've already been through some stuff unimaginable. And so whatever I got to face, if it's a whole army, I know God is going to make a way of escape. That he's not going to allow anything to befall upon me that he has not already equipped me for. My journey may not be your journey. My story may not be your story. But we all have a testimony. Everybody in here I could give this mic to, and somebody ought to be able to say something about the goodness of God in your life and what God has brought you through. And some of you may be going through some stuff right now, be it financial, be it health, whatever it is. God knows your situation. God knows your struggle. He knows your pain. He knows your doubts. He can feel your anxiety. And he told me to tell you this morning, whatever you do, maintain your composure. Don't lose your smile. Don't lose your faith. Don't lose your focus. Don't lose your joy. Verse 4. He says, one thing I have desired of the Lord. One thing. Now, we used to have an old saying that you either do one thing well or you do several things mediocre. But if you put all your energy, all your focus, all your attention into one thing, sooner or later, you're going to master that one thing. So he says, the second thing we must have after our confidence, it should lead us to communing with God. If I got confidence in God, that opens up the way for me to have communion with God. So he says, this one thing I have, this one thing I desire of the Lord. The most important element that you have in life that activates your faith is desire. Because when you desire something, you develop a passion for it. And whatever you have a passion for, that is what you put your energy and your focus and all of your strength to. And he says, one thing that I want you to do, and that is seek that I might dwell in the house of the Lord. Listen, all of the things he named in verse 1 through 3, all of the afflictions are summed up in this one desire, which means all of our afflictions can be solved with one affection. Let me say that again. All of our afflictions can be solved with one affection. And that is the desire to commune with the Lord. If I can just get to Jesus, no matter what I'm going through, no matter how I feel, if I could just have a little talk with him, some way or another, he's going to make me feel all right. Even if my situation, my circumstances don't change immediately, I have confidence that he heard me, he understands me, and that he cares about my success. And success may not always come on this side of the Jordan, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Let's keep reading. He said that I might dwell in the house of the Lord. Listen, all the days of my life to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secret place, in his tabernacle. He shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock, and my head shall be lifted up, not with pride, what we've been talking about. Confidence. There's a difference between prideful and being confident. All right. My head is lifted up with confidence, up above mine enemies all around me. We don't have no business walking in church with a bowed down head unless we praying. Nobody should be strong enough to get your goat, to steal your joy, to ruin your purpose, to muddy up your focus. Because in doing so, you're saying that person, that thing, that obstacle is stronger than the strength of God. Not your job, not your children, not your spouse, significant other, not your dog, whatever. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. I'm almost finished. He says, therefore, I will offer sacrifices, not of money, but joy in his tabernacle. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Lord. So then, if you know that you know that you know that you know that God can, God has, and God will, your response should always be joy. I'm singing and praising. I'm broke, but I got joy. I'm lonely, but I'm singing. I'm sick, but I still got praise. I'm discouraged about the future, but I still have joy. Despite my uncertainties, I'm going to trust in God that he knows where I'm going to end up. Let me close. The pendulum swings between verse 6 and 7, because at the end of verse 6, he's singing, he's praising, he has joy. But at the beginning of verse 7, he's crying. I want you to know there's a fine line that moves us from praise to prayer, that moves us from joy to crying. Because you need to understand, just because you're a believer, just because God understands, and just because you're in his hands, does not mean you're not going to go through some stuff. It does not mean that. You're going to go through some trials. You're going to go through some tribulations. You're going to have many afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord what? Delivereth them out of them all. How would you know he's a deliverer if you've never had any affliction? How would you know he's a healer if you never got sick? How would you know he's bread in a starving land if you ain't never been hungry? How do you know he's a company keeper if you ain't ever been lonely? How do you know he can keep your mind in perfect peace if you ain't ever had some doubts? And so the pendulum swings. Look what he says. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. When you said, seek my face, my heart said to you, your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. Now, when he's praying this prayer, it sounds as though he's entered into a part of his life where God seems to be silent. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had that experience where it seemed like I've cried to the Lord, I'm praying, and I'm asking, but I just can't seem to hear or get an answer. And on the surface, it seems as though God is ignoring me, that he doesn't hear me. Listen, I wrote this down. Silence in our suffering sharpens our skills. Silence in our suffering sharpens our skills, because the more God remains silent, the more diligent you become in your prayer. And prayer is a weapon that combats weeping. Because the more you go to God in prayer, the less you cry about it. Because each time you go to God, you lay out something a little bit different the next time that you didn't the first time. God is saying, yeah, I hear you, but you got a little bit more that you need to confess. There's a little bit more you got to say to me. And so God is slow to answer sometimes because you ain't through crying. And God will answer you when you've reached the point where you say, you know what? I am not going to cry over this thing no more. But God is not going to answer your prayer if you're going to turn right around and go right back. You remember when you was a kid, your parents used to let you cry till you just didn't have no more strength to cry. But as long as you were hollering and screaming, it didn't move, mama. But when you finally got to the point where then you got an answer. Sometimes God will remain silent because he wants you to get to the point where now you can really hear God. And you've learned how to use the weapon of prayer. And the more strength you get in your prayer life, you learn how to deal with those moments and those days and those months and sometimes years of weeping. Then it becomes clear. He says, you don't send your servant away in anger. Now, for those of us who've never had servants, this would escape us. Sometimes a master would send his servant away in punishment because of a disobedience. or some type of mutiny. And so what David is saying is, God, even though I know I haven't lived a perfect life, even though I still got some stuff in my closet that I have not dealt with, I'm coming to you anyway. And I'm asking you to hear me in spite of and not because of. I don't even really deserve your grace and your mercy, but I'm asking you anyway, as your son, as your daughter. See, we need to get out of the attitude of thinking that we're all that in a slice of bread. The only reason God blesses us is because of his favor and his grace. I know they sang this song, this is my season for favor and grace. This is my season to reap what I have sown. You can't sow nothing to reap grace and favor. God gives you grace and favor despite of who you are. Let me say that again. If we put our works before God, we'd all be hell-bound. The only thing that saves us is that we're covered by the blood. He says, you have been my help. Do not leave me nor forsake me. O God of my salvation, when my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take care of me. Teach me, O Lord, and lead me in a smooth path because of my enemies. Do not deliver me to the will of my adversaries or false witnesses that have risen against me, and such as breathe out violence. I would have lost heart. He said, I would have given up. Life's been so difficult. I would have given up unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Now, many preachers have preached that as though we're now in the land of the living, and we are not. This is the land of the dead. Now, if you think about all the people that have died from Adam all the way up to now, through the flood and the whole 9 yards, there are more people underground than there are above ground. There are currently more graves than there are altars and sanctuaries. We walk around in the land of the dead. And we are trying to get to the land of the living. When you get to the land of the living, that's a place where people don't die no more. So he ain't talking about the United States, Georgia, Palmetto. We see goodness when we still walking around in the land of the dead. We're trying to get to the land of the living. And the reason I can't quit, the reason I won't give up is because I ain't made it to heaven yet. And so I can't lose heart. I can't give up. Woe unto me if I don't preach this gospel. And there's sometimes I don't want to preach this gospel. But I got a mandate. I got somewhere I'm trying to get. I have a desire. I want to see God. And I'm determined ain't nobody worth me missing heaven over. I don't care how high the skirt is and how tight the britches are. When you weigh that, you can't say amen, say ouch. I want to see God. He talks about the heart, and then I'm going to close. You know, we love to stand up and say, God knows my heart. That statement right there really should scare you. Because yes, he does know your heart. You stand up in front of a congregation, you say anything to make yourself look good. But when you holler, God knows my heart, yes, he does. And oftentimes what you say ain't really what you mean. Tell me that line called the truth. as I get ready to leave, let us learn how to maintain our composure. Live life on purpose. And at the end of the day, examine yourself, not the person next to you. And ask yourself, if you've done something, ask yourself, why did I do that? When this happened, why did I go left when I know I should have went right? Ask yourself, why did I go left? And when you answer that truthfully to yourself, because you know your heart, that helps you uncover some of the weaknesses and frailties in your life. So that when you come to that same fork in the road in life, and you will come to it again, once you have examined yourself and know and understand why I went left, the next time you'll make a different choice. It's the same way in school. You fail that test, you're going to get it again. Because you cannot get promoted until you have demonstrated to the teacher, I have learned this lesson. And some of us are stuck in the same place because we will not make different life choices. And we fight change. No, let me put it this way. We accept change everywhere else, but when it comes to the body of Christ, we just don't want to serve God and see God no different than what our finite little minds can understand. Listen, y'all, there's some stuff in this Bible that I could share with you that would blow your mind. Stuff that has been hidden right there in plain sight. But I can't stand up and say everything because people ain't ready for it. And so I understood what Paul meant when he says, listen, I'm just giving you milk. I know you desire meat, but if I gave you the meat, you really couldn't handle it. And if you begin to understand the meat, the text of this Bible, you'll see the world for what it really is. There's so many laws in the Bible that we fail to see in life. One of those laws, and I'm just going to put it this way in layman's terms, is the law of transparency. That whatever is done in the dark has to come in the light. But if you don't understand the light, you won't recognize that it's dark. So sometimes things, symbols, words that are in the world is telling you up front what it is. But if you don't understand the light that's countering that darkness, you will perceive what is darkness to be light because you're not getting the truth. And pastors won't tell the truth for fear of losing you. It's more advantageous to feed your feelings and keep some behinds in the seats, because that makes them feel like I'm successful at what I do. But the Bible doesn't talk about masses going to heaven. It talks about a narrow road, and few be that find it. Only hell is enlarging itself. It's going through a renovation. Heaven is already a prepared place. Jesus said, I go away to prepare the place. In other words, he's just setting the table. He's just decorating. He's not doing no. He says, in my Father's house, there are, not there will be, there are many mansions. If it were not so, if what I'm telling you didn't exist right now, he said, I wouldn't even tell you that. Now I'm going to prepare that place for you. And I'm going to come again, that where I am, you might be also. So that when I come and get you, I'm taking you to a place that I've already prepared, decorated, and set up to receive you. Don't miss the mark. Don't lose your composure. Don't let the world lull you into a lullaby. I'm going to quit right there. But one of these days, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to expose a whole lot of stuff in the world that we give homage and credit to, that we think is technology, we think it's advancement, we think it's for our good and for our edification, and it's not. One of them is Amazon. If you knew what Amazon means and what it stands for, you would understand they didn't name the company Amazon just to be naming it Amazon. There's a reason and a purpose behind it. Look at the symbol. It's not a smile. All right. All hearts and minds are clear. I'm telling you. That's why I'm saying I can't tell y'all everything because you're going to think I'm crazy. But it's in the text. If you understood the history, we don't understand the history of a lot of stuff. Because we don't. Can I say this, and I promise you? I read an article where the Bible, this Bible that we have, every year since its publication, is on the top 10 list every year. It is the most purchased book of any other book ever published, and yet it is the least read and it is the least understood. But everybody got one. Can you imagine that? But when it comes to our favorite shows, we'll sit down and binge watch a show, season 1, 2, and 3, and catch up on it. We know the characters, we know the contents, we know the storyline, and we can go and share it with everybody. Did you see such and such last night? Oh, this, that, no, she got slapped. Oh, she got pregnant. But we know everything. But that's actually what Isaiah 46 say. Jesus wept. We laugh, but it's true and it's sad. The doors of the church is open.